The murder case of Nick Reiner has gotten a lot of attention from both Hollywood and the rest of the country. It is one of the worst family tragedies in recent memory. Nick Reiner, who is 32 years old and the son of famous directors Rob Reiner and Michele Reiner, has been charged with killing his parents in a brutal way. The killings are said to have happened early in the morning on December 14th, 2025, in the family's fancy Brentwood home in Los Angeles, California. People are wondering about Nick's mental health, drug use, and family relationships in the setting of high-profile celebrity families because of the circumstances of the deaths and his past problems. The couple, who were both extremely successful in their own fields, were found with multiple stab and cut-throat wounds by their daughter Romy Reiner later that same Sunday afternoon. The news shocked not only the Reiner family, but also the rest of Hollywood. It brought to light a highly personal and devastating loss in a family that was known for being close and involved with social and cultural issues. Rob Reiner was a very important figure in American theater for a long time. He died at the age of 78. He became famous when he won an Emmy for playing the character Meathead on the groundbreaking sitcom All in the Family. This made him known as a skilled actor who could combine humor with social commentary. Rob became famous not only as an actor, but also as a director, making movies like This Is Spinal Tap, When Harry Met Sally, The Princess Bride, A Few Good Men, and Stand By Me. He made movies for all kinds of audiences and groups. He was praised for both his artistic vision and his ability to tell human stories with depth and understanding. Rob was also the son of the famous comedian Carl Reiner, which added to his place in American showbiz history. In addition to his work, Rob was known for being an activist and dedicated to social justice problems. He fought for a variety of political and humanitarian causes throughout his lifetime. His influence went beyond movies and TV shows, so his unexpected death was a huge loss for the arts and for society as a whole. Michele Reiner, who was 70 years old, was also very good at what she did and well known in her area. Michele is a very good photographer, and the famous cover picture for Donald Trump's book, The Art of the Deal, is one of her works. She was also a producer and a strong supporter of LGBTQ rights. She used her fame to help underrepresented groups and fight for social justice. It was 1989 when Michele and Rob got married. They have 3 kids together: Jake, 34, Nick, 32, and Romy, 27. Rob also had an adopted daughter named Tracy from his first marriage to Penny Marshall, a director. The family lived in a $13.5 million mansion in the Los Angeles area of Brentwood, which is known for being close-knit despite the stresses of Hollywood life. Their house, which used to be a place of comfort and family ties, was the site of an unimaginable disaster that sent shockwaves through the city in the entertainment business. Nick Reiner, the person who was charged, had a long history of problems with addiction and mental health that was well known. His problems began when he was a child, and he went to drug rehab for the first time when he was 14. Nick had been to treatment 18 times by the time he was 16. He was struggling with drug and cocaine addiction. Nick was homeless at times and lived on the streets for weeks at a time. Even though his family had a lot of money and resources, his long-lasting and serious drug abuse showed how personal weakness, family relationships, and the pressures of fame can all affect each other in complicated ways. Nick co-wrote a semi-autobiographical screenplay called Being Charlie in 2015. It was about a son who struggles with addiction and his relationship with his father. Rob Reiner directed the movie. In an interview in 2016, he said that the project made the father and son face deeper facts about their lives and relationship. At the time, Rob said that Nick hadn't used drugs in over 6 years. However, police records and family members say that Nick's behavior had been bad and sometimes violent for the past 10 years. Authorities said that police had been called to the Reiner home more than once before, which showed that the problems in the family were not completely new. Nick was allegedly living in a guest house on his parents' land at the time of the murders. This made the issues of proximity, supervision, and family responsibility even more complicated. The terrible things happened after a well-known Christmas party on Saturday, December 13th, 2025. Rob, Michele, and Nick went to Conan O'Brien's home in Los Angeles for a Christmas party with a lot of his Hollywood friends and co-workers. Rob, with his usual sense of fun and friendliness, fit right in with the party mood. But Nick's behavior was very worrying. People who saw him said he was messy and unkempt, and he was wearing a worn-out sweater that didn't fit in with the other people who were dressed very nicely. His behavior was said to be unpredictable and unsettling, making people uncomfortable. Nick talked over private talks, including one with actor Bill Hader, and asked annoying questions about fame. He also seemed to be high on something. At some point, Nick and Rob got into a loud fight that got the attention of other people at the party. People say that this fight was the last time the family was seen together in public before they were killed. Rob and Michele left the party after the fight because they were going to a party with former President Barack Obama and First Lady Michelle Obama later that weekend. They never made it to that event, which is sad. The Obamas finally heard about their deaths and spoke out about the loss and how unrealistic the situation was. Authorities say the killings happened early on Sunday, December 14th, but they haven't said for sure what time they happened. Nick is seen walking along a path outside of a Brentwood gas station at 12:16 a.m. He is wearing a black hat and carrying a black backpack. By approximately 4 a.m., he is seen reaching the Pierside Santa Monica Hotel, located on the Santa Monica Pier, where he checked into room 207 using his credit card. People who saw him said he looked tweaked out, but there was no blood on his clothes or body at the time. Nick did not officially check out of the hotel room, even though it was only booked for one night. When hotel staff later went into the room on Sunday morning, they saw a lot of blood in the shower and on the bed. They also saw makeshift covers over the windows, which suggests that evidence was being hidden. There were clear signs of work being done to clean up the room, which police would later see as an important part of their probe. It was around 3 p.m. that afternoon when the bodies of Rob and Michele Reiner were found. Romy Reiner, who lives across the street from the house, went inside to check on her parents and saw Rob right away in the master bedroom. At first, Romy didn't know that her mother had also been killed. She ran out of the house in fear and called her friend, who at 3:38 p.m. called 911. The Los Angeles Police Department and the fire department were among the first to arrive at the scene and find both parents dead. It was later proven by the Los Angeles County Medical Examiner that both victims died from multiple stab wounds and slashed throats, which are signs of intentional, fatal assault. After the body was found, police talked to Nick's family and found out that he had been living in the guest house. Romy allegedly told the police that her brother had a history of violence and should be seen as a possible suspect in the case. This first assessment would be the basis for the rest of the investigation, and Nick quickly became the main suspect. Detectives from the LAPD searched the Pierside Santa Monica Hotel early on December 15th. Along with hotel staff, a detective checked on Nick Reiner's well-being at 1 a.m. because they thought he might have thrown away a gun or cleaned up evidence from a violent crime. There was no official search warrant, and the room had already been cleaned by the hotel workers. Investigators wrote down the blood evidence that they could find, talked to hotel staff, and looked for the murder weapon, but it was not found at the hotel. The finding of blood, along with surveillance video and witness statements, became an important part of the case against Nick Reiner. Nick was caught on video at an Arco gas station near Exposition Park in Los Angeles later that same night. This gas station is about 14 to 15 miles from Brentwood. Around 9 p.m., he walked into the AM/PM convenience store wearing jeans, a baseball cap, and a windbreaker with black and green stripes. Instead of the black bag that had been seen earlier, he was carrying a red one. Witnesses said Nick seemed normal and cool as he used his credit card to buy a Gatorade. He was acting like any other customer. 4 LAPD cars approached him at the corner of Exposition Boulevard and Vermont Avenue, not long after he left the store. Nick instantly gave up by raising his hands, and he was arrested without a problem. After that, he was taken to the Twin Towers Correctional Facility, which started the court process that would continue. Nick Reiner was officially charged on Tuesday, December 16th, by Nathan Hochman, the district attorney for Los Angeles County. He was charged with 2 counts of first-degree murder, with extra charges for killing more than one person and using a deadly tool, in this case a knife. Nick was being held without bail, and he could have gotten the death penalty or life in jail without the chance of parole. Hochman said that if the death sentence was sought, it would be based on what the surviving family members wanted. He also said that he understood how complicated the case was because it involved close family members. He also said that mental health could play a part, putting the legal process in the bigger picture of criminal responsibility and how vulnerable people are. On December 17th, the medical examiner released an official report stating that both victims died from multiple injuries caused by sharp objects. This made the prosecution's case stronger. Nick's first court date was supposed to be December 16th, but it was pushed back because of problems with his medical clearance, as asked for by his lead lawyer, Alan Jackson. Nick went to Los Angeles Superior Court on December 17th with 3 lawyers, wearing a blue suicide prevention smock and shackles. He was followed by a glass wall. Nick only said 3 words to say that he understood he gave up his right to a quick arraignment. The processes were short. His official court date was set for January 7th, 2026. Alan Jackson, a famous lawyer who has worked on high-stakes star cases, stressed how complicated the case was and said that both the legal and emotional aspects had to be carefully looked at and handled with restraint. The prosecution team, led by Deputy District Attorney Habib Balian, has worked on high-profile cases before, such as the resentencing of the Menendez brothers and the trial of Robert Durst. This meant that the case would be treated with professional rigor. Jake and Romy Reiner, who are related, said in a public statement on December 17th that they were deeply saddened and grieved. They said the death of their parents was unimaginable and asked the public and media to respect their privacy and be kind. Some famous people in Hollywood, like Billy Crystal, Larry David, Martin Short, Kevin Bacon, and Meg Ryan, also paid respect to Rob and Michele, praising their work and how nice they were to be around. Public officials such as Gavin Newsom, the governor of California, and Karen Bass, the mayor of Los Angeles, both said it was a terrible loss and praised Reiner's empathy and cultural accomplishments. These statements showed how much the tragedy affected the public and how much loss people felt in the entertainment business and beyond. Investigators have gathered a lot of physical and non-physical proof against Nick Reiner. The main parts of the timeline are the blood found in the Santa Monica hotel room, the camera footage, and the credit card records. Witness statements from the holiday party and the interactions at the gas station add more information. Still unanswered are things like when exactly the killings happened, what Nick did between checking into the hotel and finding the bodies, and where the murder weapon is. As of now, Nick's toxicology and mental health reports have not been made public. This raises questions about his mental state at the time of the claimed crimes. The court case is likely to last a long time. Possible defenses include mental illness or diminished ability, while the prosecution will focus on planning and evidence of a cover-up. Nick Reiner will be formally charged on January 7th, 2026. This will be the next step in the legal process. The defense will probably talk about mental health, addiction, and possible drunkenness. The prosecution, on the other hand, will focus on first-degree murder charges, planning, and the fact that there were multiple victims, which makes the case more serious. Legal problems, like the search of the hotel room without a warrant, could be argued, which could affect the admissibility of evidence. There are also issues with suicide watch, administrative segregation, and how to handle a well-known prisoner in this case. Statements from Jake and Romy about how the trial affected the victims, as well as a lot of media coverage and public interest, will shape how the trial goes. The case of Nick Reiner is a sad mix of fame, family loyalty, drug abuse, and violence in every way. It shows how complicated mental health and drug abuse can be, even in families with a lot of money and attention from the public. Rob and Michele Reiner spent their whole lives taking care of and supporting their kids. But their story ended with an unimaginable act of violence that was reportedly done by the son they had been trying to help. People all over the country are talking about the case, and not just because the victims are famous. The case also raises important questions about responsibility, compassion, and how personal problems affect legal responsibility. While Nick Reiner waits for his official arraignment in the court process that follows, the story keeps going. It is one of the saddest family tragedies in Hollywood and will have a lasting effect on the community, the family, and the public as a whole. To sum up, the murder case of Nick Reiner is a complicated web of sadness, investigations, and court cases. Rob Reiner, a famous director and actor, and Michele Singer Reiner, a famous photographer and campaigner, were found dead in their Brentwood home. It is thought that their son, Nick Reiner, killed them. Nick Reiner has a history of drug abuse and mental health problems. From the fight at Conan O'Brien's holiday party, to Nick Reiner's early morning movements, to the blood being found at the Santa Monica Hotel and his final arrest, the sequence of events tells a chilling story of tragedy. Questions about motive, mental state, evidence gathering, and possible defenses make the legal case more difficult. At the same time, responses from the public and family show how deeply the case affects people emotionally. The arraignment on January 7, 2026 will be a turning point. But the bigger story is about a family that has been forever broken, a community in Hollywood that is in grief, and a legal system that has to find justice in a case that has a lot more to do with than just celebrity news. The court case will continue to reveal this story, but its emotional and cultural effects have already been felt for a long time. A famous director and his accomplished wife were killed in their own home, reportedly by their son, who had been struggling with drug abuse and mental health issues for decades. This is one of the scariest and saddest events to happen in Hollywood in recent years. People who are rich and famous can be very vulnerable, and unresolved emotional problems can quickly turn into terrible tragedies. This case is a stark reminder of these things. Rob and Michele Reiner's lives were filled with creativity, empathy, and activism. Their untimely deaths show how fragile it is when family, mental health, and social pressures all come together. Nick Reiner now faces either life in jail or the death penalty, depending on what the courts decide is the best next step. The arraignment on January 7th is the start of a legal process that could last years. The Reiner family story is still a very sad part of Hollywood history and the ongoing conversation about family abuse and mental health. If you want the latest updates on true crime and high-profile cases like this, hit subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss a story.